Hello there, you amazing viewers and subscribers. As you can see, my cat's decided to join me when I do a video. So welcome to this brand new video for today. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine and why I enjoy Deep Space Nine. Now, over the last couple of days, I've been reading loads of people's comments on Star Trek groups and stuff saying, oh, Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard are too dark, you know. The storytelling is too much dark and stuff. And I'm like thinking to myself, 20 odd years ago, you were probably moaning about Star Trek Deep Space Nine for having the same problem. Now, don't forget though, Star Trek Deep Space Nine was actually airing from 1993 to 1999. So you were probably moaning about the storytelling in Deep Space Nine. And I'm like thinking, going to myself, going, these people are just morons, aren't they? They're saying, oh, Star Trek's gone too dark. And it's like, hello, Deep Space Nine went dark. Do you not remember Deep Space Nine? Do you not really don't remember Deep Space Nine with the Dominion War and when you see Garak like torturing Odo and everything else? Deep Space Nine was the first Star Trek series to go dark. So what the hell are these people kind of like moaning about? It's like the one thing I'm like sitting here going, what are these people moaning about? I mean, yeah, Discovery is a bit dark. So was Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine was doing a ton more darker stuff way before Discovery, and you're sitting here moaning about how dark Discovery is, and Picard is like, I don't really give a damn about this lot. So I want to try and do a video to defend Deep Space Nine, really, because when you see people like doing ranking videos on Facebook, like they're saying, oh, The Next Generation is my all-time favourite, followed by Voyager, and Deep Space Nine is at the bottom of the list. And I'm like thinking to myself, how can Deep Space Nine be at the bottom of the list? It's part of the 24th century. You got to put, it's really up there with Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Picard, and the TNG movies. That's the one thing about I really do enjoy about the 24th stuff. It's really good. But for me to sit here and say, oh, how do I rank each Star Trek series? You know, it's the original series is my least favourite. I just cannot get into the original series. Followed by Enterprise. But if I was going to say my top 5, you know what my top 5 will probably be. Next Generation, Voyager, Picard, Deep Space Nine, then Discovery. That's the top 5. Then, of course, you have Lower Decks, you've got Enterprise, and everything else at the bottom of the list I just really don't enjoy. But I really do enjoy Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's my 4th favourite series, really. And it does so much stuff with the characters like we're introduced. An alien species that was introduced in the Next Generation era, like the Cardassians. And I don't mean the Kim Kardashian people. I mean these type of Cardassians. I hate it when I try to say, oh, what about the Cardassians? Why you mentioned the Cardassians to us? They're not in Star Trek. The Cardassians, I don't mean the stupid, good-looking women. I mean about these alien species that are really great. And they're very, very tutorial. And once you get captured by them, they will torture you. I mean, look what they did to Picard. There are 4 lights. And he's there being tortured. There are 5 lights. I like when Picard I do like the Cardassians, the way they torture Picard and O'Brien and everything else. Plus, we also carry on with the storyline with the Ferengi and, of course, with the Bajorans. That was literally storytelling about over Next Generation's run. And the one thing I have to say about what really connects Deep Space Nine with the other 2 main 24th centuries, like Voyager and stuff, is the stuff going on with the Maquis. Really, because the Maquis started off in Deep Space Nine. They did go over to TNG for an episode. And then, of course, Voyager's very first episode was them hunting down the Maquis rebels. And then I got stuck in the Delta Quadrant. So that's another thing that kind of connects all 3. I love it when I watched Next Generation Season 6 episode, Bright Part 1. I'm like, Deep Space Nine, Deep Space Nine. And I'm like watching Deep Space Nine, and the very first episode, I'm like, oh, look, it's the Enterprise. And I really do like the way you got the Enterprise D docked on the station. And when you got the opening episode of Voyager, I'm like, oh, look, Voyager's at Deep Space Nine. And when you got that kind of cameo of Quark in the very first episode of Voyager, I was like, that's Quark. I'm one of those proper fanboys that literally get excited over Starship cameos and everything else. I really love it when you see like a Ferengi or somebody that you see from the Next Generation or Voyager like cameo, like when you see Lieutenant Reginald Barclay and Deanna Troi when they come into Voyager for season 6. I'm like, Picard's crew. Oh yeah. I'm sorry, but I am like a proper fanboy when it comes over to Star Trek. And when you got like Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, all set in the same time period, where you got Next Generation set from 23, 64 to 2370. You got Deep Space Nine set in 2369 to 2375. And you got Voyager set in 2371 to 2379. It's all connected. And plus you got the films in between, like for 2371, you got Star Trek Generations. 2373, you got First Contact. In 2375, Star Trek Insurrection. And then, of course, in 2380, you got Star Trek Nemesis, the year after Voyager came back. And then, of course, we do have 2381 for Star Trek Lower Decks, which is another great way to cameo, bring that in as well. Which is another good thing, really, because even though it does actually connect this Lower Decks into the TNG, DS9 and Voyager run as well, really, and that's pretty cool. Really pretty cool to end. And Star Trek Picard is literally the final era of the 2370s. Well, in the 23s really, because it's set in 2399. So the next season of Star Trek Picard should be set in 2400. So it'd be a whole new era of Star Trek. And a whole new century, because it's be the start of the 25th century for Star Trek storytelling in Star Trek Picard and stuff, which is going to be pretty good to actually sit down and watch season 2 and 3 of Picard. So sorry, I was getting a bit off topic then. But talking about Deep Space Nine, I like the way you have the storytelling. It's like one big, massive family at the space station. You basically have Jadzia, Benjamin Sisko, Jake Sisko, Miles O'Brien, Keiko O'Brien, and his son Molly O'Brien, Julian Bashir. And then, of course, Worf joins in this family and stuff. And then it kind of sets up a lot with the Klingons coming in with the Dominion War. You got the Klingon War with the Federation and the Cardassians. If I was going to say my favourite episodes of Deep Space Nine, my all-time favourite episode is, of course, Way of the Warrior. I just really love the Way of the Warrior, where you see Worf comes onto the space station for the very first time, and you're like, because this season 4, is basically set the year, I think it's set around about the same time the Enterprise D is destroyed, so Worf kind of gets a new post from when the destruction of the Enterprise D, even though the Enterprise D does get mentioned a little bit when it's like, I'm so sorry to hear about the Enterprise. She was a fine ship. Yes, she was. I love Worf. Yes, she was. When I'm talking about some of the characters and stuff, I like the stuff they did with the Ferengi, especially with Quark, Rom, and Nog, because all three of them are good. And when you kind of see Quark, Nog becoming like friends with Jake Sisko and everything else, it's like, ooh, this is that kind of good friendship. He gets Jake into trouble and gets Jake to lie for him, and then when the season like progresses, and then season 3. When you see Nog want to come and join Starfleet, and Sisko's there, I don't think you're Starfleet material. And he goes, I want to join Starfleet. I want it more than anything in my life. And then when he literally gets hold of Nog, and he's there telling Nog, tell me why you want to join Starfleet, Nog, tell me. And he goes, I don't want to be like my father. And Sisko just goes, your father? Yes, my father. My father could have been a chief engineer of the Starship if he had the opportunity. But no, he went into business like a good Ferengi. I really do enjoy Nog and Sisko's kind of like storytelling later on in the season and stuff, which is one of the reasons why I really do love Deep Space Nine. And then, of course, in the third season as well, you kind of have the USS Defiant join the station as well to defend it against the Dominion and the Jem'Hadar, because in the last episode of season 2, the Jem'Hadar is basically when you see the USS Odyssey, which is a Galaxy-class starship, like the Enterprise D was, and the way they get basically crippled by the Jem'Hadar, and the Jem'Hadar make a suicide pact by running straight into the main reflector dish of the Odyssey, and it blows up. You kind of see how big of a threat the Jem'Hadar and the Dominion will be. And then season 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 sets it all up. And then when the Klingons start a war with the Cardassians go to Dominion and asking for help, so they come through the wormhole. And you basically see everybody's face when they find out the Cardassians have betrayed the Alpha Quadrant. And they're like, they just betrayed us. What are we going to do? I don't know. And then, of course, you got Sisko. We're going to mine the entrance to the wormhole. We must not allow any of the Dominion fleet to come through. I really do enjoy that. And then when you get into season 6 and 7, and you got more stuff with the Bajorans going on, like with their guards, you got the Prophets, and the embassy is Captain Benjamin Sisko. You got the Parvs, whose embassy is basically Gul Dukat of the Cardassian. I really don't like Gul Dukat. The actor who plays Gul Dukat, he does it really, really well. It makes you want to hit him so much in Deep Space Nine. It just makes you want to go to the TV screen and just punch him in the face. half the time, because he is a nasty, vicious little bugger. And when you kind of see him, when you kind of hear that he raped a Cardassian woman and produced a Bajoran one Cardassian child, which is his daughter, who basically does get killed by Damar when he finds out that she betrayed them to kind of to disable the station, to stop the Dominion from getting reinforcements and stuff. And Sisko basically goes and flies to find it in and stuff. I love the fact in the episode in the moonlight or something like that, and you got Sisko like talking about his conscience of bringing the Romulans into the war. That is another great storytelling as well, where you see him like wearing this vest jumper, and he's there with his long sleeves, and he goes with a glass. He goes, "And one final blow to the Dominion." Also, Deep Space Nine brings in the Breen. Now, for the Next Generation run, we hear a lot about the Breen, but we don't really see the Breen until season 7 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is like, oh, this is the Breen with the helmets and everything. This is what we hear through the Next Generation stuff. So, which is another reason why I do enjoy Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine's got a lot going on for it. Instead of it being like a spaceship going off to explore the galaxy, you just got it set on a space station, and it's really great storytelling. I love the fact we've got the wormhole. In the first 3 seasons, rather than the first 2 seasons, you've got runabouts, then the Defiant comes in, and then the Defiant gets destroyed in season 7, and you've got the Jim Adult Rayam going, "Poor Captain Sisko." I really love that ship. I really love it. And then when you kind of see the Breen energy weapon like rip through the hull of the USS Defiant and breaks it into pieces, and you got the escape pods and stuff, and you can tell it really does hurt Sisko to give the order to abandon ship. And then you got all the alarms going bleep, bleep, and you go, "She was a fine ship. Yes, she was, sir, but as you say, it's time to go." Yeah, and there goes the USS Defiant. And then, of course, you do have the epic final episode of What You Leave Behind, when you got the end of the Dominion War, the female changeling surrenders, and all of the Alpha Quadrant powers end up going back to where they were. So the Cardassians are no longer part of the Dominion. You got the Breen going back to their own superpower like they were before, and you go back to the Federation, Klingon, and Romulans alliance. And even though after the point of the Dominion War and stuff, Romulus does get destroyed like nearly 15-20 years after Deep Space Nine. The last season of Deep Space Nine is set in 2375, and the destruction of Romulus happened in 2387. Yeah, around about 14 to 15 years, like so. So, it does basically continue the whole plot, because Deep Space Nine is basically the end of the storytelling of the Dominion War and stuff, but you still have Voyager going on, and they do make it back. And then, of course, you got Star Trek Nemesis. Star Trek Lower Decks, you do have some cameos of Deep Space Nine, like in season 2, where you got the cameo of Deep Space Nine when Mario's talking about one of the starships she was signed on before, when that was Dr. Deep Space Nine. She remembers going to Quarks and stuff, which is pretty good, really. And I really do enjoy Deep Space Nine for that as well, for that little cameo. I love the fact when you got in Lower Decks, you got the 2 people like building the model of Deep Space Nine, which is pretty good. I mean, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy it. So yeah, Deep Space Nine, for me, it is a good storytelling piece of Trek. Yeah, season 1 is pretty the weakest, but from season 2, it does start to drive in a little bit. It does start to get there. And then, of course, you got season 3, where it gets there properly. And then it just all kicks off in season 4 to 6, really, with the Dominion War, with the Klingon War, with the Cardassians fighting, and everything else, which is another good thing why I really enjoy Deep Space Nine. So, let me in the comments why you like Deep Space Nine. Do you enjoy Deep Space Nine as much as I do? Is it one of your favourite Star Trek stories out there? Is it one of your favourite TV series? I mean, for my all-time favourite TV series, it's definitely got to be The Next Generation, because that was the one I remember watching growing up with my dad all the time. And I watched every single bit of Star Trek with my dad. I watched the original series, I watched Enterprise, I've watched Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and then, of course, back in 2017... when Star Trek Discovery started, and then in 2020 Star Trek Picard started, and we got a couple more Star Trek shows on the way, like Strange New Worlds, Section 31, Star Trek Prodigy, which I still need to go and sit down and watch whenever Paramount Plus becomes available here in the UK. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Do you enjoy all 7 Suns? Who's your favourite character at Deep Space Nine? My favourite character is definitely Captain Benjamin Sisko. He does so much more than Picard does, which is why he's one of my favourite captains. Picard and Sisko are on the same level. Janeway is underneath them, where you got Kirk really at the bottom of the list. Like, say that's where Kirk is. You got Sisko, Picard, Janeway there. Then you got Archer in the middle. Then, of course, you got Michael Burnham, who becomes captain at the end of season 3. She's like above Kirk. I really need to do a ranking video of how do I rank each of the storytellings, well, each of the main main features of the Star Trek crew, where you got Picard, Sisko, Janeway, Michael Burnham, Mr. Saru, Archer, Kirk, and everything. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Thank you for watching, and stay away from any Dominion ships out there, because you never know when they're going to come back to attack the Federation.